Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks Evening Edition show. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with my very capable co-host, Leah Drake Stitt, and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good evening, co-hosts.
Good evening.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Evening.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Monday.
Only since Monday, my dear. Only since Monday.
How about that? And we have a special guest. Well, before we go on, if you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share. Make sure you do that. Anyway, we're here with a special guest, and her name actually is Krishan, right? Krishan Murray.
Yes.
Affectionately known as Kris. You know, you see Kris everywhere you look her up. And it's amazing. I guess you've gotten this, Kris, where if you look you up, it's a basketball named Kris Murray.
Yes,
who plays for Portland.
Yes.
And if you try to look you up anywhere on the internet, he comes up first. So
yes,
that's why I wanted to make sure everybody knows you're Krishan.
Yes. And I'll have to take that into consideration. I know he's a fairly new player, so when I started, that wasn't the case, but I do wish him much success.
Yes, and you know how sports is. Sports can be very
We'll take
dominating
over.
as far as the news. But I really thank you for agreeing to be with us this evening. You notice here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, we love when we get to talk about our youth and
Yes.
because they are our future.
Yes.
And reading, of course, is fundamental, and that's so important, you know, to make sure that our youth or our young children learn how to read, but learn how to comprehend what they're reading. You know, I guess
Absolutely.
reading doesn't do you good unless you're comprehending
That's right.
what you're reading. So hopefully, you know, that's going on. But Kris is an author, speaker, educator, mother, and a host of other things, and she'll probably talk about. But before you go into what what we want to talk about this evening is the Black Children's Book Week and
Yes.
a community literacy rally that you're going to have in several
Yes.
different places. But before you do that, you have some little connections here in the Hampton Roads area, in Portsmouth, actually, in Cavalier Manor. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Absolutely. So my grandparents were one of the first families to move in over at Cavalier Manor,
Oh,
and
wow.
they raised 6 children there. And my mother actually moved down there not too long ago to just make sure the house is still taken care of. So she's staying there, and it's where I spent almost every summer of my youth.
Of
So
course.
although I've never formally lived down there, I still consider myself growing up down there.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
That's the connection. Wow. Well,
And the
anyway,
family, Chris,
go ahead. Go ahead,
the family
Leah.
name in Cavalier Manor?
Yeah, so it's Elliot. So Anne and James Elliot. My uncles went to IC Norcom.
Of
My
course.
mother
Of
went
course.
to Manor. I think she may have been one of the first class after they integrated it over there at Manor High. And my aunt Sandra, Sandra Elliott, she knows a lot of people down there. So
Okay, wonderful.
Well, that sounds familiar, Sandra Elliott, but it's a host of Elliots here in the city of Portland. But yeah, it's good to know that connection here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, because many of us really got creative during the COVID time
yes,
when we were
yes,
kind of shut in, and a lot of content creators came out of that period and that are doing well now. But it sort of brought up the creativity in a lot of us we didn't know we had because we had
absolutely.
to. As a matter
Yes,
of fact, Portsmouth Coffee Talk sort of rose from that.
You're
We were
right.
already doing it, but then we had to go to this format, the virtual format, which turned out to be much better as far as booking guests and things like that all over the country. So it's been
yes.
advanced. So talk a little bit about how you got started there.
Yeah, Absolutely. So my background is in media and marketing, and part of what I used to do was work in podcast and video production and things. So I was doing that, and then when COVID happened, of course, the studio that we had, it was shut down because it wasn't an essential thing, and being in close quarters, of course, is not something that anyone wanted to be in. Besides being quarantined, and we had to kind of go our separate ways. But I spent the majority of my time, my children are homeschooled, so we were already kind of in place to do that. But just the fact that we had to always be here, we were in the house for about a year. The creativity went into writing, which was always a passion of mine. I think I was first published when I was about 4 years old. My mother was able to get something of mine, like in the newspaper or something like that. And just again, that stillness, that quiet time, which always kind of brings out what you know you should be doing, but you're so busy ripping and running that you don't take the time to actually do it. It gave me the opportunity to do that. And so I authored a book called The Great I Am, which I have here, and it just speaks about the power of positive thinking. And of course, you see that it's packaged for children, but the message is really for anyone. And so from there, I saw the effect that it was having on everyone, not just the children, even the parents. They read it and say, oh my goodness, this is really, really powerful. Or I'll get messages where people would say, we read this every night, and just things that would encourage me to keep going. So from there, I realized just, the need for support in the education space. And as I said, I've been homeschooling my children. My oldest is 13. So we've been doing it for quite a while. I figured, why not open up to help others? Because sometimes the public school systems, they're not necessarily what we need them to be. And it's hard. I know there are, thousands of kids that can go to one school. And for that reason, we started a free tutoring program in our family's restaurant here in the Prince George's County, Maryland area, where we offer it weekly. And we're hoping to expand. My team is expanding, so we hope to grow it beyond just once a week. We offer free tutoring from pre-K to eighth grade. We'll soon be expanding through high school. So we're really excited about that. And one of the ways we've decided to spread the word about it is to host a literacy rally, which is also taking place in my family restaurant this Sunday, February 25th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. for those who are in the area or maybe traveling. We have a great program planned. We have some free food from Everything Legendary, a Black-owned company who's local here. They were featured on the ABC TV show Shark Tank, and they got to deal with Mark Cuban, so that's very exciting. We have some speakers, Bashia Imana, who is a literacy expert, and a host of other experts in the education space. And the goal is for us to come together to position ourselves to put our children toward academic excellence, because I know if you spend a lot of time on social media, there are many posts where everyone's pointing the finger. The teachers aren't doing the job. Well, that means the parents need to be doing the job because it starts at home and the children just are caught in the middle. So, what I want to do is just create an environment, a safe space for us all to come together and not only discuss what the problems are, but to provide resources. And so, I have vendors that are coming in with educational companies, more tutoring. Um, STEM programs and other things that support the mission that we have set in place.
And
Yeah, let
just
me
what?
just ask you. I think you might have mentioned, but before Leah asks her question, did you mention the great illustrator you had for your book?
I didn't, and I usually circle back at one time or another, but my daughter illustrated the characters in the book. She did it when she was 12 years old. She's 13 now, but it's one of the best things about the book, and I'll get to the page with the most characters. She is super excited about this
Oh,
accomplishment.
she did beautiful work.
Yeah.
I may be, even more as a mom, but that's one of the things that is really important to me. And homeschooling, for that reason, is a great opportunity because I get to mold what we're learning in the time that we're spending around the interests of my children. So where I know that she needs her, maths and sciences and things, we do those things, of course, but I'm able to support her in her endeavors as an artist. So yes, we're very excited about that.
Hey,
Wonderful. And
all in
Chris,
the family.
All in the family, which is good. Keep it in the family, okay? But
Yes, thank
Chris,
you.
you also mentioned the family restaurant. What is the name of the family restaurant where the event will be held? And
Yes.
let people know where it is.
Okay, sure, sure. It's called Everlasting Life, or we call it E-Life Restaurant now. It's located at 9033 Central Avenue in Capitol Heights, Maryland. So if you want to register for the event and you want to see everything, it's the same as my book, thegreatiambooks.com. Everything is there if you want information about the free tutoring or the literacy rally that we're doing here. And also, we have some events coming up in the Hampton Roads area.
Wonderful. Everlasting Life,
Yes.
9033 Central Avenue,
Yes.
Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Yes.
Okay, parents, get out there, get registered for this great event. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
And will it
James.
also be virtual? Will it be shown virtually? Can you watch
There
it
may
online?
I don't have something formal. I could potentially set up something so that people won't miss it. I am going to record it and I'll likely stream it in an informal manner. So those of you who do want to participate virtually will definitely make that available for you.
Okay. Do you have the dates set for the Hampton Roads presentations yet?
Yes, so I am actually on my way on Saturday. I'm coming down, and I should get the details, or we can post the flyer. A writers and authors workshop where I'm going to be discussing the power. I'm sorry, I'm going to be discussing publishing a children's book. So it's the art of authoring, illustrating, and publishing a children's book. So that's super exciting. Miss Erica Ward, she does a phenomenal job with her group, her nonprofit organization, Divine Concept Group. And the premise behind that is just to support people in their dreams and to help them make those come true. And one of the things that has come out of that is, I believe this is the 10th year, this is the 10th annual Writers Workshop, and the first time we're in person since COVID. So that's another exciting thing that we're doing this year in Hampton. And I don't have the address here with me, but I'll make sure to post the flyer in the comments.
Wonderful. It's in Hampton, Virginia.
Mm.
Yes,
And the date again, I'm sorry,
that's this coming Saturday,
Saturday.
February 24th.
You can be busy this weekend, huh?
Yes, I have to drive up and back and then be here. But I'm excited. When you're doing something that you love, it really is not even a big
Well,
deal.
the excitement shows all over your face, your body language, everything. Believe me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm just so happy to hear that you are looking into this literacy piece because that's a piece that we realized, especially after COVID.
Yes.
After COVID, and those children were out for 2 years, you
Yes.
realize how much those children lost during that time frame. And so
Yes.
it is important that we get mentors, tutors, and
Yes.
individuals out there to work with our children to bring them back at least up to the level where they were before COVID. So
Exactly.
that is an amazing thing there.
Yes, and that's what I find most important because I don't, we all get busy with our schedule and our things, but how can we overlook the fact that the children are the future? When we reach a certain point in our life, we're going to be dependent on their decisions, whether they're lawmakers and leaders in a public space or just someone who may be able to help you cross the street. So if we can instill into them the things that they need now, even beyond literacy, then we're doing our entire community justice.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Colonel, you
Yeah,
had something to say?
yeah, Chris, it's apparent that you exude confidence and especially the love what you do. And so I do have a question. So
Sure.
you being a Black author, when it
Yes.
was time for you to come out here, you've written your book, written whatever, and you've gone out to say, I need to find a publisher to to publish my work. Now, as a Black woman, did you see were there difficulties there ahead of you, and did you see a difference in uh, our white counterparts that had the same uh, say projects that got to the front of the line than you did?
Right. No, that's a great question. And it brings me back to the book. One of the key messages in the book is that you have the power to create your own reality. And that's not just something that I wrote, that's something that I live by, that's something that I teach my children. And so, given that, I didn't even consider going to look for a publisher because I have the power to do self publishing, which is what I did. So I self-published. That way I knew that the message that I have that I believe is truly important, it wasn't left up to the opinion of someone else. So in the future, maybe I'll do something where I may want a broader distribution, or I just, may get to a point where I want to give that a shot. I again would just at least approach it from a positive mindset. Who knows what would happen? It's 2024. We have expectations that things have changed. There are many instances that prove that maybe we're not as far as we believe we should. But
Amen.
that's all the more reason that programs like the ones that we're building here and down in the Hampton Roads and all over the country, those who are doing this work, that's the reason that we do it. Because we realize that we can teach the children at a young age what their expectations should be. And like I said, in my opinion, is that we create our reality. We're not dependent on somebody approving us or validating us or ordering us around. Then watch the next generation. Can you imagine a generation that actually had that mindset and they went all the way through grade school, through college? They're ready to take the leadership positions in the local government, in the federal government. It would be a different world. And so I'm not, what's going on now is important, but for me, I think it's even more important to capture the minds and the hearts and just guide them in the right way while they're still young. So that's all a part of the program.
Mm-hmm.
And and Kris, positive thinking is so important, especially now.
Yes.
Because children have so many doubts about themselves. Words that are spoken to children from parents, from teachers, from people in the community, it causes a huge sense of self-doubt in children, and children not believing they can achieve the things that they want to achieve.
Absolutely.
And they always want to think about what somebody else did or what somebody else told them instead of moving in the directions in which they can move if they just believe. And I tell the children all the time, the power of life and death is in your tongue.
Absolutely.
You speak things into existence.
Yes.
So it's important that you speak positive things over your life. And when I hear a mother saying something negative to a kid, even when I'm in the streets, I said, please don't call your kid a little devil.
Yes.
Don't say your kid is bad.
Right.
The kid may make a bad decision, but
right.
the kid is not bad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you got to speak positive things over your children's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they have to understand that too, because, things that we may perceive or consider negative are going to happen. But what we have to do instantly is flip that and realize that it happened to teach us something. So there's always something positive, even in the most devastating thing that could happen. There's something that can be gained from that. Take your time, depending on the severity of it. Take your time to deal with it, to process it. You don't want to have pent up emotions and you're just trying to be happy and skip along. That's not the message. You take your time with that. But then when you're in a position to look back, then you should just really see, well, what did that really teach me? I had a pretty interesting day today, but I kept telling myself, what is this teaching me? And maybe it's not apparent just yet. Maybe tomorrow it'll be apparent, maybe next week. But the fact that I didn't stay there, it's okay to get upset, be angry, be upset. Just don't stay there. Don't make that your new norm. And I don't know how much time we have, but I'd love to read just a passage of the book.
Please
because
do.
It's pretty much what you were saying. That's okay?
And while you're preparing to read, how do we purchase your book?
Sure, you can go. We're on Amazon, but I would love if you come to my website, because then it comes from me and I can, put a personalized message.
Okay, and your website is?
thegreatiambooks.com.
And if I ordered it tonight, when could I have it before the 1st?
Absolutely. I'm coming down to Hampton. So if you want to meet me, I can sell them out of the trunk of my car if I need to.
Okay, well, I'll try to get with you.
Yes, if you order on the website.
I'm reading to a class on the 1st, and I think this is something I would like to read to the class. So anyway.
Sure, if you order it, I'll make sure, if you order it tonight, I'll make sure it goes in the mail first thing in the morning. But like I said, I'll be down there, so I'd be happy to bring it to you in person as well.
Yeah, I think Saturday we have that coolest night of the year.
Oh, yes.
That'll be an all day where we focus on homeless. So both of us probably will be tied up with that, but we can order it and get it as soon as it comes.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I'll make sure you get it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
So I'll just read the first page. It's very short, but it speaks to what you were just mentioning. I am power. I am great. I love myself more every day. I am creative. I am free. I am who I am created to be. My superpower is that I can create the world around me, all small and all great. If I think it, believe it, know it, and feel it, I rest assured that I will soon see it.
Very good. I love
Mhm.
that. I
Let
love
me
that.
ask you, Chris. What is the well, children is prominent in the name of Black Children's Book Week. What is the age that you focus on? I saw somewhere 8 to 18. Is that a different program? But
Yeah,
this
so
particular
that
one.
yeah, so that's the Great I Am program, which is a program that promotes that positive thinking. That's something that I offer to schools and daycares and like summer camps, so we can come in and do a program that's based around the concept of the book. But for our tutoring, it's pre-K to eighth grade right now, where we do basically reading comprehension, and foundational math skills to help students who are behind because of COVID or otherwise. And we come together once a week for that, and we break them up based off of where they are. We'll start with their grade level, but once we're able to work with them, we can move them to where they need. It's also for students who are excelling. Maybe they're not being challenged enough.
Mhm.
This gives them a one-on-one time to come in and be challenged, so that way they're not in school, just kind of bored because they may not be placed in the right class.
Mhm. Very good.
Yeah. Chris, I
And
got another question for
go
you.
ahead, go ahead,
Sure.
Colonel.
Yeah, you mentioned that you self-published your book. So can
Yes.
you explain to the population what is self-publishing? Because when I look at self-publishing, and then you mentioned selling it out the back of your car, the minute that out the back of your trunk, minute I thought about is back in the day as an old Cadillac selling the albums, the big
Yes.
70 albums, stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's essentially the same thing. I'm an independent artist, but my talent is writing and not singing. You guys don't want that. But that process is there are various companies. I used Amazon because it seemed the most straightforward, the most cost effective for me. I wrote the book. My background again is in graphic design, so it was very easy for me to do it, and then integrate my daughter's illustrations into some of the graphics that I created, and we put it all together. Once that's done, you can export it. I used a program, I believe I used Photoshop. You can export that file, upload it to Amazon. They'll approve it, but their approval is not of content. It's just making sure that the dimension, the setup of it is right, so that when they print, your pictures aren't cut off, things like that. I select the type of book, like I have a paperback, but of course, if I wanted to do a hardcover, I could have done that. I have a square book because I just think it's appealing based off of what my content is. But of course, you can do a traditional 6x9 book, adult books that are just words, no pictures. You can do any of those things on Amazon. And then once it's approved, they'll ship it to you. You can order as many copies as you like. And of course, they give you an author price on it so that you're not paying retail price when you want to order a bunch for things that you have to do. It's also available on Amazon, like I said. You can choose your prices, and you can choose the market. So I'm on Amazon.com, but you can also sell globally.
You know,
So, mhm.
Chris, I I've had conversations with a lot of local artists and or authors rather, and they mention about the importance of having an editor. You know, to make sure. And one thing I saw you on an interview with another host, and how unique it was that you have 3 children,
Yes,
and as far as the children's book go, you
yes,
had your children sort of be your editors in there because
absolutely.
other children would be reading. So what better editors to have in a
Yes,
children's book than
yes.
other children?
The
So I
children.
thought that was kind of unique because automatically you think about some professional coming in there. Of course, you want to make sure all the commas
The
and
grammar.
everything are in the right
Yes,
place. But I
yes,
thought that was quite interesting, using
yes.
your children to do that work.
All the editorial
Absolutely.
work, huh?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it is important because I have just such a perfect range. My
Mhm.
youngest is 5, my older son is 10, and then my daughter's 13. So they fall into lower primary school, almost middle school, and then upper middle school. So the experience that they have with the content, of course, is going to be different because they're at different stages. And the other part of it is I just want to encourage them to do what they love. I want them to not only see me as an example of following my dreams, but I want them to share in the part of it. My older son, he does the voiceovers. So we do recordings. We're going to do, just some audio snippets where he'll be doing the voiceover and maybe doing some animation where he'll be doing the voiceover. So I want to make sure they're involved so that they can, again, have these memories to reflect on as they get older, to know that you can accomplish anything that you want, but them to also know that I am supporting and I'm rooting for them. I
Hmm.
tell my daughter at any point, you don't want to illustrate, you don't want to be an artist and draw anymore, you let me know and we'll shift over and I'll be your cheerleader for the next thing. That's what
Hmm.
I'm here for, to help
Hmm.
you reach your dreams, not to impose what I may think I want you to do. And so that's how we kind of keep it together. That's also how we make it a family affair, because I would hate to be off, promoting my books and leaving my children somewhere with someone. That's never been my thing. That's also part of the motivation for me homeschooling, because they've been placed in my care for a reason, and I just take that very seriously. And again, I just want to nurture and mold them into being just great children, and so they can grow up and continue in that as they go off and be independent as adults.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Chris, you mentioned your son, daughter, and your kids
Yes.
as helping out with the as being contributors within the book. So,
Yes.
are they cited uh, in the back of the book or somewhere in the credits that say they are
Absolutely.
contributors? So, also you're building a resume. So when they're as
Absolutely.
age, it says I've contributed. I'm a published author or sub author.
Editor.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's the other reason, you hear, the superstar A-list celebrity musicians, they do the same thing. I think Nas, the rapper, and I hope I'm getting it right because I don't necessarily, I'm not as familiar, but they will credit their children so that they get the residuals and the royalties and all
Mhm.
of that.
Hmm.
And so it's the same. I'm self-published, so I don't necessarily have anyone paying me now, but I know that it's, when it catches, they're already a part of it. They're already listed on Amazon. So if you Google their name, their names pop up too. And I will
Mhm.
continue to do that as we continue to grow. And then once my younger sons identify what they want to do, I'm going to be pushing them and guiding them in a way where, like you said, they're building a portfolio from now. Because, imagine my 10-year-old son, Destin, when in 10 years he'll be 20, but what 20-year-old can have a 10-year track record, those who were strategically guided in that way, and so that's my goal. I'm thankful to have this mindset, that way I can help them along their way.
Mhm.
Chris, what a wonderful world it would be if we had more parents who were motivators and promoters for their children, to
Mm.
spend time with their children, to help
Hmm.
mold their children. And that's
Yes.
a blessing within itself. And I know everybody can't do it because
Right.
everybody is not equipped to be able to stay at home to teach and do what they need to do for their children. But that
Right.
time that you spend with them really needs to be quality time,
Absolutely.
family time, away from your phone, away from
Yes.
the TV,
Yes.
just time dedicated to those children for that moment. If it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, it's better
Yes.
than nothing at all. So I
Absolutely.
applaud you for being there and doing that. When my children were small, I was working out of town. However,
Mm.
I always, no matter where I was working, if they had an event coming up, I made sure that I was back here
Yes.
for any event that they had, and you got to give them that time, and they need to see that you're willing to give them that time.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
extremely important.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference. And I believe that, that's one of the main problems that we have in the world today. It's what do they call it? This healed this trauma, childhood trauma,
Yes, yes,
and there's a range. There are people who have experienced some horrific things, but all in all, it's the time that we spent and the example that we set. It
exactly.
carries on.
It
So
does.
if we can, even for these organizations, as the one that I'm endeavoring to create, I want to be able to support the community of children, because the
Hmm.
children really are a part of the community. As much as I want to say my baby, the babies grow up to be people who belong to the community. And so
Exactly.
in opening our doors and offering these tutoring programs, having these literacy rallies, that lets other mothers and fathers, grandparents, caregivers know that there's somewhere that you can link into, so that when
Hmm.
you're not able to do it, someone is there to pick up the slack,
Exactly.
and that's why,
Exactly.
because nobody, there's some time that I just need a break, and I know
Hmm.
that I can lean on my community. Or when it's interesting, the dynamic of homeschooling, because sometimes you feel like your children may listen more to others than to you, and that's kind of my situation. That's why I'm very thankful that we're a part of a homeschool collective, where I can send my boys go to the collective. That way they're surrounded by other children. They have other adults, other nurturers, the mamas, we call them mamas and babas there, where they can be in that environment. And then I play the support role. I'm always there. The teachers know, you call me, I'll come in and I'll sit in the class all day. I'm not dropping them off because I want to go and get away from them. It's just,
Yes.
I believe that each individual child has a certain environment that they're going to be most successful in. And I've
Hmm.
tried to, again, assess that and do accordingly for each individual child. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And I hope that I can, again, create that space so that those parents who have to work and they can't do it, or they just feel like they don't have the capacity to do it, they
Hmm.
have somewhere to turn.
And that's what I was about to say. And it's good that not only you're giving it to your children, but you're giving it to the children in the community as well. And I know
Yes.
that very well. For 25, 26 years, I did a group called Sankofa Cultural Learning Center, where I work with children starting at an early age, starting as early as 5, and them staying with me until they got to middle school.
Right.
So, but just being able to invest in the children. And the main thing is they are all our children.
Yes.
So when we see where a child is lacking, and we can step in to assist that child in any
That's right.
way, that's what we're supposed to do as
That's,
adults.
that's
We're
right.
supposed to do that. So I commend you for not only doing it with your children, but including the community children in the whole operation of what you're trying to do. And I commend you for that.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah, Chris, put on your speaker's cap right now, and as you're talking to um, mothers or fathers out there, and tell them how important it is, because sometimes the social media now is some parents feel like they can set their kids
Mhm.
in front of social media and say, well, this is going to educate them, or this will keep them occupied while I do what I need to do, or what I think I should be doing. But
Right.
talk to them how important it is to take control over your children's lives, and you'll be the one that decide, how much of this they get and how much of that they get, because some parents today seem to think that it's up to the child.
Right. No, I would say to those parents, as I mentioned earlier about myself, the same applies to others. You are given the children that you're given for a reason. So you should never, stay there. It's okay if those thoughts pop up, but you should never feel like you're not equipped to give them what they need. Okay, because they've been paired with you specifically because you have exactly what they need to get them to where they need to be once they grow up, right? And the other thing that you can't do is compare your parenting style and your experience with others, because you never know. We can never know all the details unless we're just that close to someone of what's going on. I can be smiling and happy here, and then, you guys don't know where I'm at. This could be a backdrop too. My life could be miserable. I'm thankful that it's not, but I just bring that up to say that, you can't judge a book by its cover. I like that analogy. And so I would do my best to create the experience that I want based on where I see my children in the future. So if you want to see them loved,
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Chris, 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 we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Say something. Can't hear you.
We lost your sound.
You're on mute. Unmute.
Unmute. Can't hear you.
Yeah, it's not showing she's muted.
Yeah.
Is she muted?
Unmute. Yep.
She's
She
gonna go
has
out and come back in. I
go
think
out
she's
and come back in because
yeah.
what I'm seeing here, she wasn't muted.
Yeah. But when it popped up on the screen just a few minutes ago, it had it muted. But then when she went out, it didn't show it.
Yeah.
Well, she hit a button
So,
and had fat finger disease.
yeah, she was given such an important message. I'm hoping that she's able to come back on to complete the message that she's giving.
Yeah, it was a glitch in the connection because that's why you saw that
Kept
change in
going
position.
out. Yes.
So it sort of blinked and went out for a minute.
But we can say Daphne Sorrell and Ara Darton and Yolanda Boyd Daughtry, we're so glad that you decided to join us tonight. And she will come back on as soon as she is able to reconnect on her end.
I think I have her now.
Yes, hello.
Okay,
Hello.
Okay.
you're back.
I was
Right in the
pouring out
middle
my
of that
heart and
important
soul. I don't know
conversation.
how much of that you guys caught.
We got most of it. We got
Okay.
almost all of it.
Okay.
So I don't know where to tell you to
You
start,
need to
but
add a little more?
So the gist was to create your own reality, be confident in yourself and who you are, knowing that you are exactly who you were created to be. You're the parent-child match that you were created to be, and just be uplifted. You know, there are resources out there. You can always reach out to me if you need any support, but the best thing to know is that you're doing your best, and if you're doing your best, which I'm sure you are, then you're doing the right thing. Things are going to turn out.
Very good. Thank you.
let me ask you about in your Facebook page. It had a list of many other things that you've been doing. Now, I
Yes.
don't know if you're still doing most of those things because some of it looked like you were focused on women. I saw this statement: helping women realize their worth, break
Yes.
free from societal shackles, and fulfill their true purpose. Is that
Yes.
something that you're still involved with as far as women's self-esteem?
Yes. So I had an organization called the Mom Agency, and that's where I was a resource for mothers who, of course, wanted to follow their dreams, but they didn't want to neglect their families, their children, their husbands. So we did a lot surrounding kind of the juggling act, but doing it gracefully. And so my heart and passion was for women, which it still is, but I've expanded and kind of focused in on the children as I have embarked on the homeschool journey, and again trying to do something that involves my children so that we can do it all together. And again, I'm not abandoning them because I'm going on a women's retreat. I'll have a children's retreat, that way we can stay together. So it's definitely something that I'm still passionate about, and it's all involved because when I'm teaching the children what they're teaching, I also have to include the parents so that when they get home, then it doesn't get lost. Because if I see them once a week and they go home and everything is lost. So it all kind of works together. And
Yeah,
the
sometimes
other
we
thing.
don't focus on the parents, and sometimes that's where the problem lies.
Exactly.
Right. It's a community effort. And I
Mhm.
think once we realize that we're better together, we're going to push each other so much farther. And,
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You're
okay.
back.
There you go.
I hear you.
You can hear me okay.
Yes.
I do apologize. So yes. So yeah, it's a community affair. You know, we as I grow, I want to make sure that everyone's covered. As a matter of fact, we've covered the women and the mothers and the children. We were promoting today at a local grocery store, and we were there kind of early, and we realized like the senior bus was there, and the majority of the customers that were coming in the earlier part of the day was seniors, and it just, you know, touched my heart. And I'm not necessarily in a position yet, but let me find an organization that I can support until I can free up some time. I love the seniors as well. I just want to make sure that, you know, from the littlest to our most golden community members, we're all taken care of because,
Uh-huh.
you know, what else is there? Who else is there? You know, we have each
Exactly.
other, and we should do our best to take care of one another as much as we can.
I agree wholeheartedly, young lady. So that is just amazing to go from the mothers to the children. And as you stated, it is very important that we keep the mothers involved and the fathers too.
And the
Uh,
fathers and
yes,
relationships. And I think that all stems from having the proper self-worth, understanding
mhm,
of your self-worth, because then that reduces the chances of us getting into relationship situations that produce children that are not going to be cared for because the home and the situation is
yes,
broken. So it really starts again with the power of positive thinking and understanding your power so that you can position yourself for success, not only academically but socially, in relationships, whether they're romantic relationships, relationship with our elders. I don't even spend time on these videos that come through, and these teenagers, or you know, these young people are being disrespectful to the
right,
elders. You know,
right.
we didn't grow up, you know, nobody from Cavalier Manor in those days were raising their children to do what's going on right now. And I'm thankful to have been a part of that generation where maybe I came in on the tail end, but I haven't. So I'm going to keep that alive. And I tell my children, you know, you see someone who looks like they need help, you know, approach them cautiously, because nowadays, you know, there may be a sense of fear more. So you
That's
see
true.
a young man approaching you, your
Uh-huh.
first thing is not, oh, he's going to help me. It's going to be, you
Uh-huh.
know, something worse. So I tell them to approach with caution. I teach them how to do it. Say, excuse me, would you like some help? You know, help, you know, elderly person with a bag or
Yes,
whatever it might be. But I'm teaching them to do that because we have to keep that alive.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, you know, Kris, you make an important point, and you said that keeping this alive. And I'm going to paraphrase Martin Luther King, and he
Yes.
says, "We have some difficult days ahead,
Mm,
especially from our sick white brothers."
mm,
And I look in the context of down in Florida. There's
mm.
parts of Florida where where the school board is sending notes to the parents to get permission. I mean, to get permission
Right.
to take part in Black History Month,
Right.
because their kids may feel bad or feel that uncomfortable.
Right.
And then we see on the other flip side of that lunacy is where they're trying to whitewash and eliminate and actually just whitewash and actually just wipe us off the scene as far as anything that has to do with Black history,
Right.
Exactly.
American history. So, what would you tell a parent now and the kids now, especially some of these young folks that are apathetic, that don't
Right.
go out and vote, that don't speak up, that just want to get by the next day,
Right.
and they don't see that there is a war going on
Mm,
against all women,
mm,
and I can go down this road and tell you what's going on, and
right.
all a war on all people of color, just not
Right.
the people down there and coming across the border. I mean, everybody. And then so when 2025 gets here,
Right.
when Brother Trump gets in the office, when he is deporting even American citizens, which he's already said that I'm going to do, of people of color, what do we tell these young folks?
Right. So I tend to stay away from politics, but my message would be consistent. We have the power to create our own, and especially with regard to the things that are going on in our neighborhoods with our education, homeschool is an option. Homeschool is an option, you know, and for those who aren't able to do it personally, there are the homeschool co-ops, and there are other things that we can do, but we can't do it if we don't do it together. If we want to go the political route, we still have to be unified. That way, when one person gets the courage to face something that's challenging, they're not standing alone. We
Exactly.
have to, just like Dr. King said, we have to be together. We have to be in unity in order to get anything that we want done.
Exactly.
But I don't believe anything is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And even, all of the years that we've gone through, the horrific things that we've gone through, the minute when we realize our worth and our power is going to change drastically.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't give my energy to, negativity, negative people, negative agendas, because that's how it grows. You
Exactly.
fall into the
Exactly.
trap that's being set, by giving your energy and your time and your space to those. So I will focus on, the beautiful programs that we have, the messages, linking arms with people who can get you in a space where you can see beyond what is right in front of you that you find challenging, because you can
Mm-hmm.
get beyond that. You just have to have the right, you have to have the right support. So
Mhm.
that's what
Yeah.
I would say. I would tell those people to just reflect on yourself, and realize that, once again, we're a community. So if you're not being active in whatever it is that you believe in, then you're being a I don't want to use the word victim, but you're subject to the decisions that are being made for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want that, then that means you have to get up and you have to do something. Whether that is get up and go vote, then you get up and you go vote and you make a difference that way. If it's to start your own homeschool, your
Thank
homeschool
you.
collective, then you do that. You find what is in your wheelhouse, what you're passionate about, what God has called you to do, and you do that, and you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about creating creative thinkers, and
Yes.
Exactly.
once you
And
create those creative thinkers, you don't have to worry about them blindly following,
mhm,
the wrong people,
That's
because
right.
they'll make up their own mind. I wanted to say this one thing about homeschooling, and a lot of people that are concerned about homeschooling, they need to know that the curriculum is set up by the local school system that you have to follow and report to them. Am I correct?
Yeah, so it varies from state to state. In our state here in Maryland, I can speak on that because I'm not necessarily abreast of what happens in other states. But we have the freedom to create our own curriculum. We do have portfolio reviews where they'll look at what we've put together to demonstrate that we're staying on task with our children based on the grade level that they're registered for. So there is supervision, but it's not detailed supervision. They don't provide us an actual curriculum, but on the county, we're in Prince George's County, on that website, they do list, based on the grade, the general subjects that age group should be working on.
Yeah, and one other thing about Maryland, as far as homeschooling, I don't know if Maryland allows this, but it was an issue about the students being able to participate in sports or some extracurricular activities. Is that available in Maryland where you can be homeschooled and still participate in those activities?
Yeah, I don't know that that's available. I don't want to necessarily speak on that. We do through the counties. They have like the rec centers, which is not directly related to the school system. We have those programs available, but again, it's not connected in that it's the schools, it's the county, but they're two different things. The parks and recreation versus the education. So we do have options available, but not necessarily through the actual school. So I wouldn't
mhm.
necessarily take my daughter to the high school with the expectation that she's gonna do cheerleading, or my son to play football. But there are options that are available.
Okay.
And
You know
and the
what?
piece that I like most of all, as well, is the fact that although they're homeschooled, you have a cohort that you can go to, and the
Yes.
children can be with other children, so they can socially mature as well as mature educationally.
Mhm.
So that
Exactly.
that's it's extremely important that they have their social growth as well, so that once they're away from home, off into, say they decide to go to college, they know
Yes.
how to get in there and to mingle and interact with individuals who they will have to work with on a collegiate level. So I'm
Yes,
glad to see
and
that in place.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people, when they hear the word homeschool, they think it's like a prison
Mhm.
at home. No, it's
Mhm.
not. We just do schoolwork at home at the kitchen table if we decide to use a table, but we might be at the museum, we might be at the library, we might be at the park in terms of academics. Otherwise, they're going to the same birthday parties, they're going down to the Chuck E. Cheese and the, this and the
Uh-huh.
that and the other. They're around other children. It's just that when it's time to sit down and focus on schoolwork, it's just us.
Yes.
It's not them and a teacher and 30 children who they're telling to sit down and do this instead of doing work. So that's the difference. We're not depriving the children of social experiences. Is that we are focusing in on the academic time so that they have that focused time. So it's really, homeschool is a lot less about the social aspects than I think most people, they make that assumption that, oh, we're just home in the house stuck all day. No, we go on adventures, we do great things. My children have friends. My daughter, I said she's 13 and her social schedule is fuller than mine's been in the last 20 years. So, that's not an issue at all.
And one other question, Kris, for those parents who may not be academically sound to teach their children, but they
Mhm,
want to have their children taught at home, what
mhm.
avenues are there for those individuals?
Yeah, I would recommend the homeschool collectives. As a homeschooler in Maryland, anyway, the parent or caregiver, the legal guardian, has to be the primary person who's doing the teaching. But that's when you can find, again, co ops where, okay, like once my daughter gets to a certain point in high school, in science and things where I know, that wasn't necessarily my focus, then I find classes, there are different community centers, there are learning centers. There's like, we're here with NASA. You guys have NASA down there too. We have
Yes,
the
yes.
Goddard Space Center here.
Uh-huh.
There are different places that you can sign them up. The museums, the Smithsonian, all these places, you can sign them up for classes. So that way you don't have that burden of feeling like you're inadequate in terms of being able to do the instruction.
Very good.
Tutors, any of that, as long
Hmm.
as you're the primary one who is managing and making sure they get what they need.
Exactly, exactly.
It's interesting. We're talking about homeschooling, and my last 4 years, and when I in the Army, I ran the recruiting for the nurses and all the healthcare stuff for in Cadet Command or RTC.
Mhm.
And there's statistics out there that when it came down to giving out this like $33 million a year, whatever that budget was for scholarships, we
Mhm.
found after the first year, those who homeschool, especially when they tracked and when they downgraded and looked at some of the parents that should not have homeschooled their kids,
Mhm.
those kids didn't last the first semester or didn't
Mhm.
last the first year. One, there was a social piece, interaction piece that they did not get. And so when they went buck wild, when they went out here by themselves,
Right.
didn't have to, mom and daddy won't telling them, you can't stay out all night. And if you
Right.
miss the class, no harm, no foul for
Right.
them. And so that's a big piece I think Leah was talking about, and you addressed that. So
Mhm.
this goes back to those statistics on how, when you look at, say, just I'll use you for, what is your academic preparation to get you where you want as an author, one, and then makes you qualified to also to homeschool. And you all said that when you get to that, say, high math piece, you
Mhm.
look for other sources where a lot of parents will just try to fake it and keep
Right.
going because they'll
Right.
give the kid the score because they don't
Yeah.
want to call their kid a dumb who is dumb as a rock. They'll still
Right.
get an A, but they'll just give them that score.
Right. Yeah. No, it's all about being involved and staying connected, and being honest.
Mhm.
Just like I came on this podcast and said, when it gets to a certain level, I'm going to find somebody because that's what we have to do. When we don't, like you said, we fake it, but who are we hurting?
Mhm.
Exactly.
We're hurting the children. We're hurting
Hmm.
the community because we have these children who think they're this and that. They're
Mhm.
not because we've kind of fluffed up their portfolio for the sake of
Exactly.
our own ego. You can't do that. So I base my preparation on where we are, I lean into our homeschool collective. And that's one of the reasons that we're part of a collective, so that I'm not standing all by myself. I can say, listen, we're having trouble with this. What resources do you have? Can you look at this? Can you tell me where my child is falling? Because I lean into other experts. And that's the reason that we have the literacy rally, so that we can bring all of these people together in one place and introduce them to everybody who has the same questions that you and many others have. How are you doing it? What makes you qualified?
Mhm.
What makes me qualified? I'm a part of a community. So
Mhm.
where I may not be an astrophysicist, I know one. I have his number. If I have a question, I can, call him. I can email him.
Mhm.
That's why we're better together. What I don't know, someone else does.
Exactly.
And just in me being honest, I'm not gonna get on Google and find a course on astrophysics and try to teach. I'm not gonna do that to myself. I'm not gonna do that to my children. I'm not gonna set up a tutoring program where I'm doing that, because that wouldn't make sense. Who am I harming? I'm harming the children. I'm
Mhm.
harming the community.
And you're harming
And
yourself because
I'm
it puts you
harming.
in a level of stress.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. I don't know, I'm gonna be honest. I stay in my strengths, in my wheelhouse, and I am extremely thankful that I feel like I'm humble enough to say I need help sometimes.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna try to teach every subject. I'm not gonna try to, do my life and all three of my children's life and be, relationship, run a restaurant, do that. I have support, and I encourage everyone to find that community. And I encourage more people to have, these events and things where you bring people together. There's no competition. If I went to a meeting for another actual restaurant that's right down the street where they wanted to offer free tutoring. And, at first, you hear the little voice, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't even be in there. That's a competitor. It's not a competitor. There are too many children for the both
Amen.
of us,
That's
who
right.
need help. It's not. If we can come together and figure out how we can help even more children, then we win. If I had not gone to that meeting and I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that because, again, who is that harming? It harms us all in one way or another. So
Exactly.
I hope I answered that question.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes,
Chris,
yes, yes.
Chris,
That was a difficult
we have a
question.
young lady called Monica F. Friend who asks, greetings. Can we get the book directly from you? Have it autographed by you and your children? Please provide the details if this request is possible.
Absolutely. So you can go to the website, thegreatiambooks.com. You can place your order. In the order, there is a note section, or I have the chat feature on the website. So you just hit the little chat, the call out box icon. And when you chat, it comes directly to my phone. You're speaking to me. It's just me. I don't have a call center. I don't have a team. It's me. So absolutely. You just put your request in that box and I'll make sure to take care of you.
Monica, give
Yeah.
them the site
Mm.
one more time, please. I
Uh,
mean,
the
Chris. I'm sorry, I'm
Chris,
looking at Monica's name. Chris.
no problem. The great I am books.com.
Okay,
And
Monica, just go to the site.
Monica is my cousin who lives in Maryland. And hello,
Oh,
Oh,
cuz.
she
Thanks
in
for
Port
watching
News
and
in Maryland.
appreciate it.
Yes.
And it's we're coming to the close of the show. We really enjoyed, the information you shared with us. But before we go, and the other hosts will make closing comments. Before we go, what are the expectations you have for these programs going forward? And is there any way that you're going to be able to gauge the success of the program as far as the reading abilities of the students or the children that come through this? So you'll know how well they're doing going forward. I asked that to a lot of people that come up here with programs. Do they follow, some of the people that come through their programs just to know how what they're doing at the moment and how successful was the program in achieving its goal for those children.
absolutely. Absolutely. So there's definitely the assessment portion of it so that we can speak to our own work, but we use a curriculum that's evidence-based. So for that reason, we're not just, putting things together and hoping that it works. We're using something that's proven. And then over the time, once we have our own personal experience with it, we of course will collect testimonials and have our own, as they say these days, receipts so that we can make sure that we are living up to our word. It's great to be passionate about about something, but if it's not in truth, then again, who are we harming? I like that. That's my theme for today. So we definitely want to be truthful, and we need the assessments and the data to make it better. We want to get better. We don't necessarily want to, do a little bit and plateau. We want to keep going up so that we can help people, children, and maybe we can make an adult literacy program. Maybe there's some adults out there that we can
Which is
help.
needed.
Yes, that's
So
needed as well. Yes.
yeah, we get all
Mhm.
our ducks in a row with this, and that opens up the door to help even more people, which is always the goal.
Well, Kris, my brother, Reverend Johnny Drake says, thank you very much, Kris. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching and for listening. And
yes.
there was one other event. May I just share that? It's
Yes, you
gonna
Sure,
may.
be,
please, sir.
it's actually a children's event. It's going to be at the Printed Word bookstore over on, I'm not gonna get it wrong. Give me one second. But we're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be a smaller version, kind of the literacy rally that we are having, and once again, that's going to be at the Printed Word bookstore address is popping up right now. There it is. It is 5901 Churchland Boulevard in Portsmouth, Virginia. Beautiful family owns that bookstore, Black owned. They do story time with tea
Yes,
every
yes.
Saturday morning. And so we're thankful. This is our second year doing Black Children's Book Week with them. So we're very excited.
So,
So
what's the date for this one, Kris?
this is Saturday, March 2nd. And it's going to
Okay,
be
yeah,
11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
11 to
yeah,
3?
Yes.
Okay. So, she's
yeah,
coming to Portsmouth, folks, to
yeah.
Printed
We've
Word
made
Bookstore.
contact with them and trying to
Oh,
get them scheduled for the show. So,
oh,
uh,
beautiful.
yes, yes, indeed. So we're going. Hopefully, I can be out there. To what they do, because I've heard about what they do, which is in line exactly with what you're doing.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. So we're very excited about that. So I'll be in Portsmouth 2 weekends in a row. So for
Wonderful.
maybe,
anybody
Wonderful.
who can come out, I would love to meet you in person. If you send me a message and you want books, I'll make sure I can put some to the side for you. If you don't want to do the online thing, I'd be more than happy to deliver it to you in person at one of those events.
maybe get a chance to go to the manor. That's what they
Yes.
used to call it, the manor.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Any last comments, Colonel, before we?
Well, Kris, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show and explaining everything what you've got going on in your life and where you're going in the book, and you covered a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I love how you talked about data and also tying this to some longitudinal studies so you can look at the effectiveness of what
Right.
you're doing. And so
Right.
that's the key. I'm a data guy,
Okay.
and it's got to be black and white data. And
Right.
so I'm glad you're doing that kind of stuff. So thanks again.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for
And,
having me.
and Kris, I'm thankful that you're introducing the power of positive thinking,
Yeah.
not only to our children, but the adults who are reading the books to the children. So
Yes.
I look forward to ordering that book for you, and hopefully I can get it to read it to a class on March 1st, and
Yes,
then come
ma'am.
out to meet you on March 2nd.
Okay. Thank you so
But,
much.
but thank you so very much for coming on. I have done a friend request from you on Facebook, okay, and look forward to following you. And I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. Anything that impacts positively on the life of a child, I'm for it 100%.
Mhm.
And so
Thank
I
you.
thank you for what you're doing. And I know James and the Colonel heard it before, but when I went over to Africa, the chief told me, gave me a Sankofa bird. He said, you must go back. You must teach your children. You must teach them so that no one can tell them anything that's wrong and they
Mm,
believe it to be true. So
right.
stay in there, keep it going, and we look forward to you coming to Virginia and
Yeah.
starting some wonderful things here at the place where you spent all of your summers.
Yes.
So thank you
I look forward to
so,
that too.
well,
I
thank
love
you
it
so
there.
very much. And I look forward to meeting you on the 2nd. And I'll order my book tonight so I have it by the 1st.
Okay, I'll make sure you have it.
Okay.
Okay, Leah, we can't hear that enough.
Right,
That story
right.
you tell. Just tell it as much as you want to.
I have to keep telling it because if every parent would just take a minute to sit down with their child, we would be in a much better place.
Mhm.
A much better place.
So make sure you look up Krishan
Yes.
Murray, and she goes under Kris. And if you do Kris Murray, this basketball player pop up, so you know that's not her.
Good.
She is the author, speaker, and educator, and mother of 3 children, and of these great programs for children that she's doing, making sure that our children learn to read and comprehend. So thanks again, everybody, and remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and share this great information we had tonight. And thanks, everybody, and thank you,
Thank
Kris,
you.
for
Yes.
being our guest and sharing such great information. We appreciate
And
it.
James, let me just say, I'm so happy that my meeting did not pan out, because if it had, I would have missed this tonight. So I'm just so thankful. I'm sorry that they didn't have it, but I'm thankful that it didn't happen tonight. So this has been enlightening. Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Take care, and we'll see you when you come to town.
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
All right. Take care, everybody. Appreciate you.